Hello everyone, my name is Rajiv. In this video, let's see how we can create tables in Dataverse and relate them with all the full suite of columns using Claude Code with the help of Dataverse MCP Server. I'll be using create table and update table tools of MCP Server. Okay, let's first jump on to the demo. Let's understand how this functions. Okay, so I open the command prompt and I'm starting the Claude Code. Okay, so then I'm going to put my requirement. Okay, for this demo, I'll be using expense tracker application as an example, and I want it to be super simple. So hence, I don't want any approval features and all. Let's go ahead and submit this. Okay, let's see what Claude Code comes up with. And if you notice, right, there are few agents configured behind the scenes. So the Claude Code, yeah, Claude Code used that configured sub agents, and it came up with the tables it is proposing as okay, you see, right, if you see from here, it is saying, I can see you need a schema built from scratch, you have already described your project well, all these things. And before I draft the schema, let me confirm what I'm seeing. Tables I propose. Okay, so Claude proposed two tables, category and expense, and it proposed the columns, all these things. And it says that, does this look right, or would you like to add or remove any tables? And also, yeah, I'll say it is good. And it is asking us to type save. Okay. Yeah. So by typing save, it's going to generate the schema. Schema is nothing but all the tables and columns, right, in the JSON format. It will come up with. Yeah. If you see, right, this has created all this structure. And if you see, it has a solution information. The publisher is Raj, and also these are the tables. Um, and the table to expense and all these things. And if you see, the best part is that it even went ahead and uh, come up with the relationship suggestion, which means that the category and expense, right, they need to be one-to-many relationship. So it went ahead and suggested that. Um, okay, so yeah, let me go ahead and use a schema suggested by the Claude Code. Okay, so now let's see what it came up with next. It is saying that schema.json has been saved to at this location, and it is saying your schema is ready. When you would like to create the table, say this. Okay, I'm good with all the information. So let me go ahead and say create tables from schema. Okay, so at this point, right, the best part is I put a lot of guardrails in between uh, before Claude Code go and create the tables in the Dataverse. And for example, one of the guardrail is that there might be a table already with the same name presented in the target Dataverse, right? I don't want that to be overridden. So all those things we have it in the guardrail. So let's see what it comes up with. Yeah, and if you see that it's saying that snapshot and all, which means that I'm running this multiple times, and every time I query or I prompt something, I intentionally keeping the snapshot of all the stuff. So I'll show that after this demo. Okay, so now what is it doing? Basically, as I mentioned, right, it is checking one of the guardrail that it is ensuring that using this list tables tool, right, it is checking if there is any table presented with the same schema. Um, and also it just check that it is telling it's going to connect to this environment, and if we are fine with it, we need to say confirm. Okay, and if you see, right, it says schema validation. It's nothing but one of the subagents, right? Uh, yeah, there are close to 6 subagents I have configured behind the scenes. So every subagent will have a focused job, right from the proposal of the schema, validation of the schema, creation of the schema, and also auditing and all this stuff. Okay, and if you see, it is using one of the tool from the Dataverse MCP server. Okay, so now this is a validation report. This is important because it gives you any alarms before it will go and create the tables. So in this example, right, we are good because I see all the green ticks. Um, it says that all types are valid, publisher with prefix confirmed in the Dataverse, all these things. And then the dry run preview, which means once we proceed, it's going to create these two tables, right? So it is giving us what it's going to do once we say proceed. Okay, I'm good with that, the plan. Let me go ahead and say proceed. Okay, so before that, I want to show you something. This is my target environment, and let me refresh. Okay, so notice that uh, this is the solution, and the solution I made this as a preferred solution, and at this point there are no tables presented. And hopefully, once the Claude Code completes its run, we should see those two tables created with all the columns and also related. Let's wait. Okay, and if you see right, it is executing the step one, which is it is creating a table by calling create underscore create table tool of the Dataverse MCP server. Okay, it's still running. And yeah, meanwhile, let me show you the Claude structure. Okay. Anyway, I'll give you a quick detailed walkthrough. But if you see right, as I mentioned, it has six sub agents, six agents, right, focused on the specific task. And also we have one master agent, which is an architecture which coordinates all this, the child agents. Okay. And what you are seeing mcp.json, right? This is nothing but, okay, let me show you one of the articles I have written recently. Okay, so this is one of the prerequisite that uh, to be able to connect to Dataverse, right, using Claude Code. First, we need to configure the Dataverse MCP server, and these are all the steps. Okay, so once you go through all these steps, you will have this mcp.json file. Okay, and the important thing is the connection URL. Connection URL, it specifies which environment and also the tenant. Yeah, tenant denotes the environment where the Cloud Code going to connect to. Okay, I'll come back to this, but let's go and check where we are. Okay, so now if you see right, um, the step one completed, step two completed, and also it even went ahead and created audit log. Okay, and it came up with this nice session summary that it created two tables and it made two calls, two MCP calls and also snapshot audit log. Okay, so the snapshot is important. I'll come back to this, but let's go and see if these tables are reflecting or not. Let me refresh. Okay, yeah, all right. So now these tables are there. Let me go and check one thing, that whether the lookup has been created or not. Okay, so I'm in the expense table. I should see the category. Yeah. Okay, so now if you see right, the table, both tables created fine, and also this lookup also has been established already, which is good. Okay, so now let me do one last thing, and then I'll explain the agents and all this stuff. Okay, so what I'm saying now, can you add uh, status column with active expired options in category table. Okay, so in the previous example, the tables have been created, right? Now I'm asking that agent to help me with adding more columns. Okay, so now if you see, right, again, it is not jumping and creating that column into the table. So rather it take a step-by-step approach, and which is intentionally I put into the system. So first, always it will go and update. It will go and update the schema file, and then it will come up with the report and all these things. So now if you see, right, what it is trying to do is the table has been created already, and additionally it is creating the status column. Okay, and also the try run preview, it tells that okay, this column going to be introduced into this table using this update table tool of the Dataverse MCP server. So I'm good with it. Let me go ahead and say proceed. Okay, all right. Now the Claude Code would be at work. It will go and yeah, this time it is calling the update table tool of the MCP server, and yeah, so this is pretty quick this time. It went ahead and created this column, the status column, and also it updated the audit log. Okay, so cool, right? Let me go ahead and refresh and see if the column is reflecting here. Okay, I think the column is status, right? Yeah, this is the column. And we wanted two things like active and expired. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So now let's see how all these things are being configured and how this Cloud Code is working. Um, Before we start, there are a few prerequisites. First thing is you need to have a Cloud Code, and if you don't have a account, go ahead and create an account. You can create a free account, and then next you need to have a editor. I'm using VS Code as a code editor, and the third thing is, of course, you need to have a Dataverse environment. Once you have the Dataverse environment, you need to connect this Dataverse environment uh, uh, to Cloud Code using this MCP server. Just follow all the steps. So once you follow the steps, right, you will have this mcp.json um, created, and also yeah, just follow that article so you would understand how to configure that MCP server. So those are the prerequisites. And just to summarize, you need to have a Claude account and install the Claude Code. Then you need to have a Dataverse environment, and also you need to configure the Dataverse MCP server with Claude Code. And of course, you also need to have VS Code. Okay, so once you have, then you can download this Claude folder as is. So I'll be putting this into my GitHub. Okay, so you will have this Claude Code. Of course, you will also have this Dataverse folder and everything. Okay, including the readme.md. Okay, so once you have all these things, then you're good to start. Okay, so you can point that to your working folder, this console, and you can start prompting the Cloud Code to give your scenario and let it create the tables. Okay, let's understand what is there in the Cloud folder, under Cloud folder. Um, as I mentioned, right, during the demo, I'm using a agents concept. So agent is again here, right? Everything is a markdown file, MD file, and everything is an instruction. Okay, there is a zero code. I haven't written any code at all. It's all the instructions. Um, so the orchestrator MD, it's like a lead, right? Lead of agents. And then you have a dedicated agents to perform a focused task. For example, this schema validator, it ensures um, if as I mentioned, one of the guardrail, right, like when new tables are getting created, we should ensure there is no table already existing in the target, right, with the same name. So all these checks will be performed by this validator. And there is an audit logger after every table creation, right, it will make an entry. So if you want to see the audit log they'll all be stored here. And if you see, right, yeah, all these things gets logged into this table. So that will be done by audit logger. And whereas the schema designer is the important one. Basically, if you when you give your requirement for the first time, right, this agent would go and propose the tables, propose the columns, and also it'll get your feedback. And then once everything is ready, it will pass the control to the validator, schema validator agent. Okay, and of course, this orchestrator is the one who will be handling all the sub agents. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So there is no code, absolute zero code. All these things were driven by the agents concept. Um, and then you have a Claude.md. And those who are familiar with the Claude.md, right? It's a simple file, and if you see, right, how many it has, 83 lines, and this works as a memory. And basically, uh, yeah, I mean, this is like a off topic, but Claude.md, right? It works as a memory, which means every time you start a new session of Claude code, right, you don't need to give the context again. Rather, the Claude code would go and go through this Claude.md and understand what is that we are trying to achieve. Okay, so that's why it is recommended to put high level things into the Claude.md file, like what is your intent, and all this your agent information, and also the rules, non-negotiable rules, and all these things. Just put it there into the Claude.md file. And the setting dot local dot JSON, right? It's like a the Claude code would request the permissions, your permissions, like if it is need to run the bash commands and all, right? Anyway, this one you don't need to write anything. Rather, upon executing every action, right, the Claude code would ask your consent to run some commands, and when you give the consent, it will keep updating the settings.json file. Okay, and coming to the Dataverse, yeah. So now this is the main thing, and whereas this Dataverse folder is that after we execute the commands, the artifacts gets generated under the Dataverse. So one is a schema file, the schema.json. Okay, and if you see the schema.json, the whole JSON file has been created because we prompted the Claude Code to come up with this expense tracker scenario. That's why all this content has been created. And if you remember, right, we went ahead and asked the Claude Code to introduce a new column, right? Uh, yeah, this is the column we asked Claude Code to update the table with. This is the second command second command I have demoed. Okay, so now all these things, right, already have been captured. Yeah, and also the snapshot. Snapshot is that every time, because this schema.json is a crucial file. I know the importance, and the snapshot. So it's like a versioning. So which means if you see the this schema snapshot, this was the first prompt we given for a creation of tables without the status column in the category table. And whereas the second scenario, we requested to add a new additional column, right? So yeah, and now if you go and ask Claude Code to add another column, obviously the schema.json gets updated, and then there will be another snapshot file gets created. So because I know the schema is important, and the snapshot is nothing but versioning of your schema files, so that you can have a track of it. Okay, and of course, readme.md is that, and mcp.json, which I have covered already. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, once you have this Claude, and once you know how to use Claude, Claude code, prompting and all, and we are good. We'll have tables gets created, and even with the lookups and everything, they get created in the environment. Okay, so now what are the known limitations, right? So in this exercise, I came to know two limitations so far. One is that we cannot create a global option sets. There is no way, there is no tool which creates the global option set at this point of time. All the option sets, right, all the choice columns, they get created locally into the table. That is one of the limitation. And second thing, the many-to-many relationship, the Cloud Code, the Dataverse MCP server doesn't have uh, option to create a many-to-many relationship. But Claude Code is smart enough that if there is any scenario uh, that require a many-to-many relationship, right? Because there is a limitation that the Dataverse MCP server cannot create a many-to-many relationship. Um, but the Claude Code is smart enough to coming up with the idea of a bridge table, that it is proposing the custom bridge table and to establish the many-to-many relationship. Yeah, which still works, but just want to highlight those two limitations at this point of time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you learned something. I hope it is useful. Thank you.